What's up, Binge World? You already know what time it is. It's official. We put it on HQ. No more IG stories. This is a podcast. We're going to be telling stories. We're going to be discussing. We're going to be, doing a lot of different things with the gang. Today, first, our special guest, the longest, #1 day Binge Watch fan,
Ultimate
supporter,
fan.
the
Yep.
ultimate. Before Binge Watch was Binge Watch.
Yep.
Young
Nico.
It's Nico.
It's Nico.
Or just Nico. Or hey,
just Nico.
originally, hey, it's Nico.
Oh yeah, that got cut.
It's been
Binge Watch is my my stylist. He's also my manager. He doesn't know it, but
yeah, my manager's manager.
yeah. He's you're the ultimate creative though. You curate like everything. You really do. Like, it's crazy.
I don't know. You've been helping out a lot. It's
I know.
It's
What's
definitely
it
a collaborative
been?
process.
It's been like 7-8 years.
When was that?
Portland.
2000. Well, if we met at the festival,
I was like,
and you did that interview.
shit.
That was before. That was my first ever. That was
I,
a
like,
year.
know
That was
you know
2000.
you,
That was
though.
well. That's when we met. But that
That's
was
when we met.
2014.
Yeah. So that's like 10 years that we've been
Yeah.
around each other.
Crazy.
But yeah, I remember at What the Fest you were playing. I was a young buck. I was like just getting into the festival scene.
How old were you in 2014?
I was like 21.
21. You just turned
Yeah,
21. I think I
literally.
was. Well, I would have been 24, or 23.
Yeah. And that's when you were doing Def Mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trap
Trap
bass.
days, Trap or Die. Well,
Yeah,
that wasn't Trap or Die. Was
that
the
was
later.
That was
the
after.
later.
Yeah,
That
you lost the
was,
duo.
That was what would be the time. That was the yeah boy. You already know what it is. That's what,
Oh my god. What about Game Boy?
The Deaf Mind.
Yeah, Nikes. That's crazy.
No, Game Boy that was our like last. I think our last like release that we did as a
Def Mind
duo.
Game Boy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a duo. You guys were a duo for
Well, yeah.
How long
fill
now?
in. For
You
those
were-
who don't know, and that's the funny part is that a lot of people come up to me, especially in like within the Blind Tiger community, and I don't know, not to brag, but I think I do look younger than I am, so they think I'm like just coming up on the scene,
right.
and they're like, they'll see, progress, from the afters to sound. To like touring and stuff, to getting Insomniac bookings at the festivals, and they're like, I've been there since day one.
You're right,
and I'm
right.
like, I was like, which day one? Like the day one when it's already been, I failed and restarted and failed and restarted so many times.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
the history of Binge Watch goes deep. I mean, the history of you in music goes deep. I mean, you...
History of Binge World. Today, that's the name of the podcast episode. Episode now, History of Binge World. The Binge
Yep.
World, it's crazy. But yeah, for those who don't know, I was doing... that's how Nico and I originally started working together.
Yeah.
It's with my previous project, Deaf Mind, which I was doing with my dear friend who we're still great friends with, Autumn. It was a duo project. It was EDM bass music.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of dubstep.
Heavily trap influence. Her and I made a lot of music together, but specifically heavier on the trap side. I feel like we definitely got more... That's what we got more popular for. We did do some dubstep stuff, and we
That was
did some like
My Mind and
no.
half-death, though.
We were doing like like aggressive, like a bro step. But
Oh,
but
gotcha.
we did the deep dub. We also did a
That's
deep
what
dub.
I'm
right?
talking about. Yeah,
that's
that
even
that vinyl.
that was before Deaf Mind.
Yeah, that was
technically.
even before Def Mind.
But yeah, and then that's kind of where I first started getting my bookings and DJing in the scene and getting my first festival bookings, and that's how Nico and I met. He was interviewing me at which I don't remember. That's you bring it up.
Yeah, so I met Gosh, that was such a crazy time. So What the Festival is a festival that's no longer happening in Oregon. I was like, I think the second year I'd gone, and you guys were playing the Equinox stage at that festival. It was one of my favorite festivals to this day. It like gave me my experience in the EDM realm, inspired me to like make music and do all of that. And I remember coming up to you, I think you had, no, Autumn is the one that had all the suntan lotion, like
Probably, yeah.
just covering the nose with the sunglasses. And you were off one for sure. You were running around, and that was the first time we ever met, but we hadn't really like met. And it was just like a passing, like, hey, what's up? I'm this person. And then my friend Peyton, we were doing KPSU college radio in Portland at PSU, Portland State. And it was crazy because you came in, he booked you guys to come in, and he started working with you guys. And like, this was after, gosh, your accident, like almost.
No, that was before the accident.
Right. It was before the accident. We were at KPSU, and I got to talk, and I sat down with Autumn and really got to connect with Autumn. And you were hanging out with Peyton more. And then the accident happened.
Yeah, was I booking him to DJ too, maybe?
I think you were starting to work with him doing the hot stuff. Not Hot Damn. Was it Def Life?
Def Life.
Def Life before Hot Damn.
Well, Hot Damn and Def Life were kind of coexisting at the same time. So
Def Life turned into Hot is what kind of happened.
Well,
at least on SoundCloud.
Well, so what happened? We merged. You and I merged it. But so what originally happened? It was actually the funniest thing because we were so confused. Branding was so like it was just foreign for us. We didn't know what to do. Oh gosh. And so I was already DJing and doing like open mics for like I had another project with Clark, and I was doing Rasvet, and I would do like the DJ live set stuff, and Clark would play instruments and we would do like live looping and all of that. There wasn't like really a scene for that. So we were trying to get into these like open mics where it'd be like rock bands and stuff, and it was kind of fun. There'd be like, rappers would pop up. It was just like a mishmash of people, just all different artists. And so when Autumn and I started working together, I was doing the My Mind thing, and she was doing the half deaf because she didn't hear out of one ear. So we were doing My Mind and half deaf, and then that's when we did the record. And once we finished the record, we also were building out the studio. And so the original Deaf Mind was the name for the studio. So it wasn't even our artist name.
It just turned into that.
So we, instead of like, we had an artwork for our record. We have My Mind and Half Deaf. We could have printed T-shirts that said that, or what we spent like money on this guy who like did a mural on on the wall, and we actually took a photo of that mural and turned it into artwork. We could have made that a T-shirt. I think we made a couple T-shirts, but they weren't as cool. But then we did like this cool Deaf Mind logo that kind of came together, and that was going to be our studio. So we printed some hats and we printed some T-shirts. And when we did the release party, and we had all of those. So we had all these go-go dancers dressed up wearing those shirts, and people were buying those T-shirts and wearing them. And then I was also going to music school, to college.
Right.
And so they were
PCC,
doing
right?
PCC, Portland Community College, they were doing they'd bring in like different lecturers, and so they brought this lady in who was a manager or like sub-manager of like the Decemberists or somebody from Portland, like a popular.
There's a lot of folk pop.
Yeah, there's like rock bands like Modest Mouse. She was basically in that like Portland.
Yeah,
it was basically she knew some stuff, and it was like. I already was able to ask her a couple questions, and she answered really good. And then she was like, at the end of class, she was like, yeah, if you guys need like a one-on-one thing, like, I do like $100, you do an hour session. And so I came back home. Autumn and I lived in the same house at that time. And I was like, yo, we got to hire this lady. So we go to this lady and we try and tell her, like, explain her what's going on. We're like, so I'm My Mind, he's half deaf. But we got this record, it's called My Mind and Half Deaf. But we got like the studio, which is Deaf Mind, And like, here are the pictures from our parties. This is where we're getting booked. And she's like, what's going on? What are you guys talking about? Who is deaf? Who is my mind and half deaf? She's like, why are you guys? And we're like, and at that time, you know, we maybe had like 700 followers each,
Yeah,
or
it was
like,
just a
like a
start.
small amount on like Facebook. It wasn't, Instagram didn't even exist at the time. And we were like, what? But we've been just putting out music and like building out these pages. And she's like, you guys just need to like rebrand and like start one page and call it Deaf Mind. And we were
Simple,
like,
yeah.
and it was kind of lining up at the same time. It was like blog era, and I tapped into like edm.com. Was the website, was very popular at the time, and
Right, a
they
lot of
had
different blogs.
trapmusic.net and sub blogs that they were doing, and we were getting crazy streams, like 100,000 streams in like
Yeah, you get
in a
posts on the
day or
blogs,
2 days
right?
or
Yeah.
something, some insane like 60,000 streams in a day type of deal.
Right.
So you know, we started our new project and just started putting out music consistently, and you know, it was within a year that we were already playing like big shows. And well, I don't know if we were
So
playing.
when did you win Discovery Project?
That was 2015. So we actually
So it was like right when pretty much around the time that I met you. It was
yeah,
like right
Discovery
before or
Project was
after.
like discovery for us that we need to take a different direction.
You learned that was the turning point, huh?
At that time I didn't understand, but now looking back at it, that's kind of what it was. It was just being able to go look behind the scenes. We went to EDC obviously and had the backstage passes, and I don't even think we got to play to people at EDC when we won, because they didn't open the festival on time, so we were just on stage like for an hour waiting for them to open the gates.
And it was just
And there's like still like trucks with like
claws.
driving around like
you're like, we're playing for the construction crews.
and then
Shouts
they
out.
gave us like a art car set the next day. They're
Oh,
like,
they hooked it
okay,
up.
this
They
didn't
hooked
work
it up.
out. We couldn't, which is I totally, you know, no beef with anybody, but
Yeah, that's a
they gave
vibe.
us an art car set. It was super early, so even the doors were open. There's nobody there. So then they rebooked us to do Beyond Wonderland in a couple of months, which was, I think I don't know
Oh,
if
right. That was another big booking.
yeah, I don't know if we were the openers or if we had an opener before us.
That was a packed show, I thought.
But yeah, it was a
You were
packed show,
playing-
and we did a live set. We
Yeah.
brought out the big guns.
Yeah, when did you switch from live set to... That's a crazy aspect.
Well, I've always done live set. For me, live set and DJing has always been kind of interchangeable. Like when I first started DJing, the way I DJed is kind
'Cause
of
you're
like a
doing
live set,
turntables,
you
right.
know. So I'm doing phrases, like kind of what we were just talking about in the car. You were like, how I mix. That's what it stems from. You know, I was,
Right.
you know, when I first started DJing, I didn't know about. For me, DJing, like I knew maybe a little bit how people DJed in the club. But for me, DJing was like watching DJ Shadow put together like 4 records that don't belong together and make them all sound like a whole new sick record.
Right.
So like grab a drum beat from a rock record, you know, grab like an old school like folk vocal that layers, then chop up an organ on top. And so, you know, when I first started DJing, I got Tractor. I would have 4 decks, and I'd, you know, having 16 bar loops of drums. You know, I would be flipping.
Yeah, you were
things
mixing
out.
a lot
Yeah.
together.
Until I then I discovered Ableton, and I was like, oh, I can have like unlimited amount of loops. I don't need to have just 4. I could have like, and so I
Right.
would have these like long nano controllers with like 8 faders, and that was another reason, you know, I couldn't afford, like, you know, I was just straight from Russia, and you know, my parents were helping me financially, so, but Russian ruble doesn't go far here in America, so like, you know, all my friends that I would be DJing with, they had Serato, the Technics 1200s, and tractor, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I like had like belt driven Gemini turntables with like a Behringer mixer and like audio torque, which I like didn't dare to bring out of my house because it was embarrassing. It was like kind of like it was like bringing your Denon controller to like their setup right now, you know, like if you showed up at the club and everybody's like playing on the CDJs and you set up your little controller
Your
on the
little
side.
goofy thing. Yeah.
Yes, so I kind of started, but at that time also started like Richie Houghton and Guy Barato and a lot of other people were starting to do live sets. Ableton got popular, so it was all like when the club culture was actually like, because it was just transferring from like DJing on vinyl on to DJing on the computers. So like it was still like, you know, how right now like DJing on the flash drive is like 95% or like I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Especially within
That's what I was at,
within
like,
our like
our world.
obviously like in the hip hop they probably have more people still using Serato.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, in the house music scene or EDM in general, like, you know, some people use Allen and Heath zone mixers in Europe.
Tractor again here and there, but
Tractor also in Europe, but you know, they're still using Pioneer CDJs to control it. So at that time, that was not like Pioneer. It was like there were some people who used the CDJs with the CDs. There was DJs who were DJing still on vinyl. There were still DJs there were now DJs who were DJing on the vinyl with computer. But then there were now coming up controllers. And at that time, controllers were still expensive. So it wasn't even that frowned upon. And there wasn't like just the Pioneer controllers. There was like Vestax controller. And not all of them had like little jog wheels. A lot of them had like, they were trying to come up with different concepts of how to do it. Tractor would come up with a new one, you know. They would all look, you know. Each company would come up
their own style.
You know, they still have a lot of these companies. They have their own controllers. But at that time, there wasn't one that like everybody, like even Technics.
Right, that wasn't the mainstream used one consistently across
like,
clubs.
There were like I would show up and like at the house party and I'd be like Technics CDJs. They looked like Technics turntables, but they were CDJs, and it was made by Technic.
Crazy. I didn't even know they had those.
Yeah, and they tried to tap into that market before Pioneer and they were like, nah, let's not do that.
We can't compete with this.
So, but anyway, and then obviously Ableton was coming around, all the Ableton controllers and the grid-based controllers started coming out where you can launch things like for Launchpad. Like there wasn't anything like that.
Well, that was my favorite thing. Is like I learned on the Newmark MK2 this little white board of just, and you connect it to, I think it was, what's the other one? Not Record Box, but the Serato. And it was like, that's what you would bring to like the basement in Portland to the little college parties.
Yeah,
like
you
that's
bring
what
laptop.
it was.
And I mean, the kids still do that. They just, I mean, some people probably do bring the laptop, but now with the flash drive, it's obviously easier. So you don't have to risk bringing an expensive laptop in addition to an expensive controller. And people like easier, everybody has their own flash drive, but yeah. And so, but what I was saying was the live set. So that's how I kind of got into it, is because I was like, okay, well, I'm not bringing my Gemini cheap version of the Serato setup when, you know, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy these like live, you know, media, because they weren't as expensive as buying two Technics turntables were expensive.
Yeah, that
still
was
expensive. So you could buy like, you know, for a couple $100, you could buy a Launchpad and like, you know, some faders and stuff and connect them to Tractor or any software. And, you know, so I started really just kind of digging deep, and kind of somehow got in the whole thing of like making Launchpad control Tractor when it's not really made. So like finding like a MIDI map for
like a custom one online that you download or whatever.
How to do myself.
Yeah, you're like routing the mixer yourself. I remember that.
Yeah, so you're launching the things.
That's crazy. I did that a little bit.
And then obviously doing the loops and stuff. And that came also from, you know, what I was doing with Clark. So it's kind of natural and easy to me, coming easy. And Then Autumn was also super really into synthesizers and very nerdy. So like, you know, our first original, before we started
what did
DJing
the live
together,
set
live
look
setup
like?
was insane. We had like, oh my God, I'm still like,
Like, how much did you have to bring to the club?
we didn't even do it at the club. Well, I guess maybe it was a club actually. So we only did one time.
Okay.
And we gave up because
Yeah, like there's too much.
it was
shit.
too complicated. And we we were the openers in a side room. And you know, they didn't. I don't think they turned the lights off even. Like I think we played just with the lights on. Like it's just like a couple of Autumn's family members. Like I don't even know who was there, but our setup was we had Alan and his Zone DB. I think it was DBX or DB. It wasn't the cheap. It was. It's still really dope. I actually kind of want to buy one myself.
Really?
It's a 4-channel digital Alan and his mixture, and it has like, you know how on Pioneer, if you pick like, you know, you have 6 effects like dub echo, filter, reverb on the side. It has those per channel. So you could be like, channel 1, I want a filter. Channel 2, I want a reverb. Channel 3, I want a delay.
Oh, that's nice.
And then it's got built-in loopers into the mixer. So each channel has a built-in looper.
Oh, wow.
And then...
That's pretty wild.
What else does it do? It has... I don't know, but that was the best. What I really loved about it, that each channel had its own. It still had the master effect, but I could have, you know, I didn't have to be like, all of these are filters now. You know, I could tell them which one of them is which, and it sounded great. It was a great digital mixer. Then we had the 2 Technics turntables, because at that time we finally were able to afford all these things. Not even afford it because of Autumn, because she, you know, thanks to her for being able to let me use all of that stuff. Honestly, I still couldn't afford shit.
Yeah.
And then we got, we had Ableton running and Serato. Basically, the Serato. So Serato connected to the 2 turntables.
Right.
Running into the mixer. Then there was Ableton, and Ableton had this function. I don't know, maybe they still have it. It's called Ableton Serato Bridge, and you could open your Ableton. And you could open your Ableton on this like separate window. Right. And so you could then grab like how you pick a song in Record Box and drag it over onto a deck. You could grab like your Ableton. You would have to pick a project inside Ableton. But you could grab it and you could pull it over, and you could control Ableton tempo and beat match it on the turntable. That's great. All the audio would even go in reverse. The plugins wouldn't go in reverse, but everything that's audio would even go in reverse. And you could beat match your Ableton projects. So we're doing that. We're running an Ableton project on one deck. We were kind of dropping tracks, I guess, or I was maybe scratching, I think probably is what I was doing. Yeah. Then we had Autumn had probably some kind of a keyboard. I don't remember that, but I'm sure she would have to have some kind of a keyboard
to play notes.
And then I had my Akai MPC 2000 XL, the old one. And then we had obviously the Launchpad running Ableton. So we were like
full live set.
It was a full on. It was very complicated and like
you're like, we are DJ Shadow.
Something like that. Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was.
So
fun.
when did you evolve out of that? Was that like?
It was just like we were just kind of like felt disheartened because it's like you do so much work I think we like shroomed out and just went on like a walk downtown and stumbled into Whiskey Bar.
Oh,
and it was when they had like the shittiest sound system. It was before they upgraded. I'm not sure. I don't think they even do anything now. My parents went to an event there, like some random Russian thing. But
because your parents are like in the scene
before the era that we're talking about, that like 2000. what was it, 11 to maybe 17. Whiskey Bar Portland was where the bass music or a lot of EDM DJs were coming through that club.
It was like a main
It
outlet.
was the spot. I mean, Red Cube was running out of there.
Yeah.
But basically, so we went on a Wednesday and they had the shittiest sound system. It wasn't upgraded yet. And they were just dropping like the stupidest trap. Like, it was just like,
Just raw shit.
we were like, sampling, like writing chord progressions, like doing crazy sound design, like, and it was literally just like boom.
The classic
like,
trap.
And we're like, after us bringing all that gear out,
You're like, damn, they're on us.
we're like at the club on a Wednesday, and it's like cracking, and people are like, ah! And like as an artist, you're like, you want to like perform in front of people. Like it's,
I mean, that's part of it.
especially if you've
music,
if you've never done that, it's just like it's a feeling you want to experience. You know what I mean? You think that's where the financial success is as well. So you're like, you just. No people, no audience.
You want to share your
sense.
work, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you
if you're trying to
art.
perform. If you're just trying to do it at home, like some people do it for themselves at home, which is cool. I do it for myself at home.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like when you're an aspiring artist and you want to be out there,
You're trying to showcase yourself.
Yeah, you're trying to showcase. Trying to get some reactions, some feedback. You think you're good, whatever.
More following, whatever.
So yeah, we saw the crowd and we're like, we need to go.
We need to do this.
We're almost halfway through here. We need to speed this process up. So yeah, and then we.
History of Binge
Because
World.
but I was already I've done like the little DJing also at house parties in Portland, so I knew because I had my 2 turntables, and before I started going out, I'd bring them and I'd party. So I knew I was like I don't need to do a live set. I can just play some tracks. Like
Right.
It's not like I haven't. I was like, this is easy. I can figure this out. So we were like, and then at the same time, my song, and I really didn't like trap, like even rap trap, like before EDM trap. I was just like the Lil Wayne, like it was just kind of like the ignorant club trap. I was more in like conscious rap. I was like into Immortal Technique or like the dilated peoples, you know what I mean?
Very deep.
I wasn't into like when I heard Lil Wayne, I was like, what the hell? My friend was like, you gotta listen to Lil Wayne. I was like, no, this is horrible. I was like, I don't know, this is ignorant. You know what I mean? And then I show up at the club and they're playing that kind of ignorant vibe, and I was like, and then I kind of realized, I was like, people at the club, like in the middle of the night, if they're not there, like they don't know exactly who the artist is, maybe they're not there to like have some kind of a deep connection with the lyric. They're just there to get silly, party, like
Connect,
get loose. You know what I mean? Nobody's trying to listen to your story about you, a lyric about how you struggled, or a girl broke up with you, or whatever, I'm drinking at the club, Versace, you know what I mean? Not stupid, but something just... And I at that time also turned 21, and I was like, oh, these people are just literally trying to, they're just trying to vibe out.
They're trying to have fun.
And I am trying to like...
I had to come
be like,
about
pay
that
attention. See what, nobody's trying to pay attention like that, like if they're vibing. So, anyways.
Yeah, you're talking to your homies, you're partying, you're drinking, you're having
There's
a good
levels
time.
to this stuff. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now after this whole back journey, coming back to like what I'm about to do, I think is finally the whole process. It was like it was a journey to get back to doing a live set again at a level that I think I can do now. You know what I mean?
Right, because it's like the evolution from Deaf Mind into Binge Watch was a whole journey as well.
Binge Watch was the same thing. You know what I mean? Because you remember when before I was doing Binge Watch, I went down the same rabbit hole. I was building the miniature live sets with 3D visuals, concepts.
It's a full circle to that moment.
I was doing the live set, and I was like, you know what? I just need to make silly little club songs and get a fan base. And like, that's what the beginning of Binge Watch was for me, in a sense. But that's kind of how Deaf Mind started. We kind of came back home, and my song popped off on trap, edm.com, which I didn't want to make trap, and I just kind of made it as a joke. And it had like within 2 days, it had like more, within 1 day, it had more streams than all of my music combined in my entire life.
And you're
Then I
like,
spent,
oh.
like the vinyl record, I spent a year on
Yeah.
producing, you know, that free download had more streams in 1 day than all, and I made it in like an hour.
Right. It was
So
high
I was like,
quality.
I come back and I was just so, it's, you know, I'm 21. I've been writing music for 5 years, since 16, 17. I'm like, I need to be playing. I come, you know, in autumn, Autumn and I were working close together. I come back home. I'm like, or I don't think we were even living together at the time. We were just hanging out. I was like, we're doing trap now. That's
This
it.
is
We're
it.
not doing any of this conscious shit. We're popping out bangers. Like we're
cooking.
tapping into this. Like we're hitting these charts. Like no more of this whimsical artistry. Like, you know, compressors that we don't know how to use, or trying to chase like a Moog bass line. Like use whatever we got to get these wiggles out. And I think it was successful, but I think I did it. It kind of lost its sense after doing it for so long, and then kind of lost, I feel like, the soul that I had in that music, you know. But maybe I think I had to go to the dark side in a sense, which you called it. It wasn't dark side, but like,
I feel like you have to dip into
you know, the
mainstream,
mainstream EDM, where you're chasing the cool new genre. You know, and they pop, whether it's, you know, or today it's dubstep, or in Jersey. At that time for me it was like, oh, now Jersey Club is popular now. Okay, we're doing Jersey Club. Okay, oh, the trap with the halftime hard style breakdowns, or I mean hard style double time hard style breakdown is the shit. You know, hard trap. Okay, now Wook trap is cool. We gotta make Wook trap. You know, and you just kind of lose sense of yourself because you're just going, and there's so many, you know, and some DJs get really big and they still have careers, but like I'm glad I, you know, was able to see that and realize that like now with what we're pursuing with Binge Watch, you know, my intentions are so much more authentic, and I'm like, you know, and I feel like if I haven't done that whole thing, I might have been like, now with getting the opportunities that I get, I could have been like, oh, we should maybe do that, like, oh, well, why don't we, you know, try and work with these people and get me on the, and you know, the way we're working now internally with our own team, you know, just selling our own tickets, relying on ourselves, building
well, that
out
was
slowly.
like, from my perspective, you know, coming in and seeing you and becoming a fan of Def Mind, like, you know, I was like, that was my, and I love how people say this also, like a lot of artists say this, is like you tap into the mainstream before you go underground, you know, like I mean, that's how I started making music. I was making future bass and stuff and all this different stuff. And I saw you guys crushing it at that stage. And then after KPSU, and then you were in the accident, and that's when I really connected with you, was right after the car accident. And you like, that's also when you were kind of breaking up with the duo, like right after that.
Yeah, we were separated at the same time. And like I think I did like 1 or 2 shows after the accident
together, and then there was like a stint of break, and then it was like just you. And I remember going to Whiskey Bar and like hanging out there and seeing the trap, you know, firsthand. And I always remember watching your sets was like something, it was different. It was always different than everybody else. That was what was really cool, is like, it wasn't like the mainstream shit. It was like you were getting a new lesson in the trap field, which was like really cool for me as like an aspiring artist. And also, you know, you brought me under your wing. You're like, yo, help me with this door stuff. Like I need, you know, we were running the whole event, right? That's what you were doing. You're like, hey, I need someone at the door. So I remember I would open, and then you would be doing the door at that time while I was opening the club up playing. And then shouts out to Peyton, by the way, Bottle Kids. That was our duo. We used to play a lot together. The trap halftime stuff. Yeah, Bottle Kids, bro. And then after we were done opening, we would switch, and I would work the door for the rest of the night, and you would go and like, you know, network and DJ, and then you pretty much had everything set up from the visuals to the thing. And then, yeah, down to LA, right? Like you were there, we were doing that together for almost a year, I think. And
We
then
did it. I mean, I think I was already moving to LA because after I got hit by a car in November.
you were already like in the zone.
And then
to
I
do
was
that.
ready to go to LA in March.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as I recovered, I think by February I was like, I'm moving. I'm not sticking. But then we did like, I think I did like almost a year of events. I think I did that whole year up until New Year's.
Yeah, you were still coming back to do events in Portland.
Up until New Year's. Right?
Yeah, and then it was like SantaCon that was in Portland, which is like this big event where there's just tons of Santas out, and that was like the last shebang in Portland that we did.
Was it?
Yeah,
and
it was
then
like
we were going to do
December.
the New Year's night, and then we canceled it.
I think we got shafted on that one.
No, she was trying to tell us some stuff to do.
It was something weird.
And then we were like, whatever, we don't know anything to worry about. But we didn't do it. And then it took like technically like a year break off.
And that's where you really, you were like building, you're still Deaf Mind in LA for a bit. And you were like
that was the only year.
redefining.
No, that was the year. Yeah, I tried.
You did Deaf Mind for a bit. You were, it was happening for a bit, but you pretty
like
much stopped putting trap at that.
I feel like as soon as I broke up with my ex, and I think it was literally after a year, like we moved in March, and it was like, but I think my birthday was
it's right around that time.
No, my birthday is in December, so it's close to a year. And then I think then I took a year of like off Deaf Mind.
Yeah, brainstorming what the next rebrand was going to be. The huge marker board of just names of like different, I don't even know, aliases that you were trying to, and that list was so long.
We were thinking styles of music because I was still
you weren't
trying
even
to
in
approach
house music really.
I was trying to approach it from the main stage perspective. Like I wasn't trying to build it back up from the ground. Like
you're building like 3D prisms.
I was like, I need to present this project to these people so we can perform on a big stage type of deal.
And I remember I was in Portland, like come down, we'd brainstorm and do stuff, and I didn't move down to LA until recently. But that whole like era was crazy. And then Binge Watch started.
But then it was basically like, and I was still DJing a little bit. I would DJ at like Insomniac artist area festivals, like I would do a vinyl set. And I was just doing like the more artsy stuff without the name.
It was like
young baby boy, people would call me.
that was a whole era, the young baby boy. And then it was like bubble up stuff.
And then so I went out to a bunch of parties, and I started going to festivals again. I started going to after parties.
Mode.
I was network. I was just trying to see
everywhere.
I was trying to see.
I swear to God, every time I heard stories from you, you were like, I am here. I was there. I went to this place. I met this person. I was like, you were an ultimate network.
24/7. Yeah. I was literally like at every space yacht, at every.
It was whatever event. That was like,
I would be at Clinic Wednesday on Wednesday.
And this is like pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. Like after there was an after hour scene, but not the way it is right now.
It was not as prevalent. I remember we'd go to like houses. That was kind of like
you remember still on my Spotify, the header is me DJing Freaky Friday. That was a big warehouse.
That was like one of the biggest.
But it wasn't like, I don't know. That's what I feel like. And we haven't talked about Blind Tiger yet, but I think that's what we're doing right. Not right, but I think that's what we did different with Blind Tiger. After obviously after COVID, but compared to the parties that I knew about, is that our sound is actually tuned up. Like, and I think it's still the case to a lot of parties. Is that, and I don't hate that because some people do have they want to hear multiple different genres in the same night. They're not. It's just a different taste. You know what I mean?
It's a different vibe. It's a different lane. Yeah, it's a different vibe.
I basically feel like we did tune in more to the house, and we still had a pretty broad range of house music that we had, and that's kind of, it started with Bubble Up, where I remember I was talking to the boys.
Shout out Bubble Up. I don't know if I went.
Shout out Bubble Up. Shout out Cyboy, Freak On, Donovan, Matty, Ghost, and Blake Weber. I mean, it was a whole game.
That was a whole crowd.
But we basically were going out, all of us going to these after parties and going to the festivals, and obviously for a lot of them we're getting guest listed, but sometimes you would end up, and you show up, it's like $40 to get in, you're like rolling with 5 to 10 people, you spend $400 or $500, not you personally, but your group.
Right.
just to go in to buy more drinks. And and I was like, wait, we were drawing deep, and I was telling you, I was networking, I was making more and more friends, and I was stepped in, I knew what was going on, and I was like, damn, we're rolling, like I'm bringing people here and there, I could like direct people where technically where I wanted to. I was like, so I'm talking to the boys, I'm like we need to just open up our own thing and just tell our people to go there and just. Like, why are we paying to get into a club? And then we're all walking around the table wanting to DJ. Like, and I don't want to be that guy who's like, hey, let me plug in. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm just going to, like, why don't we just start our own thing? And shout out to Domi Divine. Matty Ghost introduced us to him. Who put us in connection with 1720, who gave us a chance. We had no event history, no event company name,
right.
Only a dream. Some young troopers.
Yeah.
So we didn't have no gear, but so we were doing the party, and I was like,
Custom-made flyers,
but we were discussing the style, and I was already, at that time, bass house and house not in Ibiza, obviously, or like maybe not in some of these other places, but in America, you hear a lot of electro, bass house.
Yeah, 100%.
Even a Dirty Bird mixed in all of it together. So I was like, I was like, we should do house music. It wasn't like underground house like we do right now, but I did draw lines. I was like, like night bass was cool, Dirty Bird was cool, like if it's quirky and it has some bass sounds that are like loud and kind of in your face, like Hood Polly, kind of early Hood Polly sound, that was chill. But like I was like, but as soon as it starts getting like electro or Skrillex bass house, like wow, like I was like, let's not play any, like like if it's quirky modular synths,
leave that to the mainstream stage.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not saying any of this is bad, but that was like the tuning. Like I was like, that's
a big misconception actually. It's like the people think we hate bass house.
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't have.
I love bass house actually. It's it's definitely a genre.
Yeah, Tony is one of my best friends. He makes great music. I mean, I've made a lot of bass house myself, but like it just creates a certain vibe. If you start, and it kind of makes it. If you play it next to other music, it's kind of like eating like sushi, and then eating like a hot dog at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like takes over the flavor.
Right.
Really strong. Or like a good burger, even, whatever. You know what I mean? Steak.
Yeah,
like, you don't want to mix, like, it's just two different dishes. Like,
right.
It can be done well together, tastefully.
I think you can make a really good steak.
Yeah.
Like there's really good steak out there. You know what I mean?
I mean, you can eat steak and sushi probably together a little bit, but I'm thinking like...
It's like refined
like pizza and sushi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're eating like sashimi and then all of a sudden somebody shoves a piece of pizza with like tomato sauce and like salami. You're like, what the hell? But like, not that it's bad. Like that's how bass house feels to me when like somebody comes at Blind Tiger and plays it. It's like, I'm like, I don't hate pizza, but I'm like, I don't want it right now.
This is not pizza time. This is not pizza time right now. That's crazy. Yeah. But there's like, we love that genre and like respect out to all those artists.
I respect all genres and I've made all genres.
Making music in general is like a craft. So I think.
And it's funny to me, like, the whole thing was Def Mine and bass. That I did bass music. Opened
That's
up
for
for
we
Flex
started.
Pavilion, opened up for Steve Aoki.
That's what I wanted to make.
Paper Diamond, OK.
Yeah.
You name any 12th Planet, big acts that do bass music. All of them know me. I mean, I've ghost produced for big bass people, and a lot of people like come to me and they're like, have you ever thought you know about bass music, right? And I was like,
dude, that sound, you go and listen to old Def Mine music, that sound is still prevalent to this day. Like I was listening to tracks and I was like, that sounds like a Def Mine track. Like it literally, like those synths, those serum synths, like it's still prevalent today.
Everything new is very well forgotten old. And sometimes I find myself that I'm kind of a little bit ahead of the... I'm a little bit ahead of the game.
He's like, I know what's good.
Honestly, like, well, it's honestly hasn't worked out in my favor. Like maybe it has. I don't know. Maybe in the long run I'll look back and I'll realize. I hope I will. You know what I mean? But the way I would say, like for example, there's definitely been times where I've produced songs where I'm like trying to push the boundaries, right? Like let's say in 2015-16 when I won the Discovery project, we were like doing all bass house was just becoming a thing, and the first bass house song was Jaws. Feel the volume.
Oh my gosh.
Well, how did it go?
That track.
Right?
Yeah.
Feel the volume.
Yeah.
And so that was like the newest, and everybody was playing it at EDC from Tiesto to Diplo to all the big DJs.
It was
and
like
that's how Jaws went from like being an icon student to like a popular kid.
Right.
And that was before Marshmello was even popular. That, you know, that you know, allowed Moshe Lizzy to tap in even more and separate from Bygore management and all of that. But I mean, I don't know for sure, but I believe so. But at the time, so, you know, I loved the wobbles. I knew the sound design for dubstep because that was like my, before, you know, all of that, I also had my whole little kid phase around 17 years old doing like Roscoe and Caspa and all of that stuff.
Roscoe's you're a diehard fan of Roscoe.
So I was like, oh, okay, these wobbles are cool. And I was like, but at the same time, we were also managed by this guy, Paul Song, who runs Red Cube, and he was a breakbeat DJ at some point. And he was like pushing us to produce more breakbeat, and we really didn't know much about breakbeat, but I could, you know, pick up any style really quick. So we released a breakbeat song, and we hit top 5 on Beatport breaks, and I was getting all these like legendary DJs like Crystal Method and Stanton Warriors and other people were playing this song and hitting us up and asking for more music. So we were like kind of tapping into this weird like breaks, and we're kind of experimenting. And I was like, you know what? I was like, this like new Jaws sound, like this bass house. I was like, if I just throw one kick off here and there, this is kind of a vibe, like boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? It was just, it was house. It was on a house tempo, obviously, but it was breakbeat. But with those wobbles, I was like, I like the wobbles. I can do the little vocal chops. So I was like, oh, let me try this. And, you know, we were both trying to create the genre, and we were starting to get, you know, Bygore. I think we were talking to Bygore, Madison, D-Mac, A&Rs or something.
Yeah, all the people in that.
And they, you know, that's where we were trying to get signed to one of these labels. I think that those were like our main, like Fool's Gold, Mad Decent.
Fool's Gold, yeah.
D-Mac. I don't even think, and then we didn't have an Ausla contact, and we were getting.
Ausla was hard to get hold of.
Ausla was good, of course, the biggest. Yeah, the biggest. So those were kind of our main labels, and we were sending them these songs, and they're like, "Nah, this is, you know," this is too much. This isn't it. And we were playing them live, and they were going off, and I was like, And then like 3 months later, you know, Skrillex and Jaws drop a collab, and it's like that. It's like the breakbeat with the wobbles sounds very similar.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, like I was like
on this
4 months early. And like and then as soon as that song came out, everybody starts making stuff like that. So I remember when then being feeling salty, and sometimes I feel like when, you know, I get excited about something and I try and present it and it's too early. And then somebody else does it, like, you know, in a little bit later time, and then I'm like, I should maybe be like, let me tune into that, like catch that wave,
right?
But I kind of get just discouraged, and I'm like, I already did this, like nobody, like, I remember that with Skrillex, it was the same thing. I was young and I was doing. I, you know, found out about Caspa and Roscoe and all it wasn't deep dub back then. It was kind of like, it was on the way to bro step, you know, it was starting to get heavier and heavier. And I was trying to show it to all my friends, and they didn't care to listen. And then Skrillex came out and became like mainstream, and everybody was on it. And I was like, I love, you know, what Skrillex does and his whole, but at that time I was like, damn, this is stupid. I've been telling you guys, and I was like, listen to these Roscoe songs, listen to these Caspa songs. You guys wouldn't care to listen to me, and now this comes out on Dead Mouse's label and
You're
everybody
into it.
cares about it. I was like, and that's when I went into like post dubstep and deep dubstep and garage and future garage.
Right. Well, that's what
And-
I love about like Rick Rubin says something on this is like the universe, like as an artist, like your ability to tap into like the creative flow. And I think that's something that I've always respected is you really do have a refinement of taste for a lot of different genres. So you see like your brain, the way your brain works is crazy. You like this guy, I don't know how much I can praise him, but I love him to death. He's one of the smartest humans. He's taught me everything I know about drum beats and melodies. I mean, I don't know how much all the music I've made, it's due to this guy teaching me how to make drums. Because before I didn't even know how to make drums. But I think all in all, that refinement and taste has been like a huge guide in general for, I mean, I didn't know, you brought me down to LA, right? Like I didn't know, like I was into trap still, like experimental bass music, Halftime, like Chi, these artists that are just very kind of driving heavy duty stuff. And like right before I came down here, I was getting into house music because you were into house music. And I was like, I didn't get it yet. I didn't even understand the intricacies of how much and how deep it goes. And even in your history, what was really cool is like you being a part of it from like a young age in minimal techno, like watching Richie Houghton and like being into that whole scene before it has turned into like, the biggest thing you've always taught me is like the cycle of genres. Like there's just so many genres and each one's getting a piece of that, spotlight here and there throughout history. And EDM's such a big, big genre to me. I was like, I looked at house music like, oh yeah, tech house was house. Deep house was house. Like it was house music was house. Like I didn't even think of like, oh, that's deep tech minimal. That's like some more bass line driven stuff. That's bass house. That's, it's gotten so deep now. And I feel like that knowledge of like understanding has been like one of the biggest guiding lights for us as a like
well,
business
it's like
in
food
general.
or wine or anything kind of get like any product or anything we consume, it kind of gets like this, you know what I mean?
Right.
You could become the glasses
billion
kind
different
of
cereal.
sure, you know what I mean? There's
Right.
people who have bad vision and they just go to whatever Fred Meyer or Ralph's, they're like look at the things.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, this is good. I think I'm better. There's other people that are like, they're halfway, you know what I mean? They're like, okay, I'm gonna, go to a doctor, figure out which eye, how much, but then it goes to another level where it's like, people get crazy about the frame, you know what I mean? And then it gets crazy. Somebody's like, oh, I'm going to get this vintage frame. I'm going to fly it to, you know what I mean? So
how deep can you go?
How deep can you go? The
Yeah.
same thing with food or wine, you know what I mean? I have, certain people, and it's not that both don't need to exist, you know what I mean? But I've learned that like, you have to introduce things to people through simple stuff. You can't give them like the most intricate thing and expect them to enjoy it.
It's like
when you're not, you're not fully, you haven't developed your taste for whatever it is. So it's like
right.
And for me, it's funny because the house music and tech house, or like minimal tech house and minimal techno, I was listening to it as 16, 17-year-old pretty excessively, like before I even was really making music, and I knew the scene and I knew the kind of people in Russia that were into it. So when I moved to America, it was always like throughout my whole career, I always kind of seen it and I would pick into Ibiza, but I felt like I could never do it. I was like, because I was just, in Portland, it's like EDM, there's not really like that scene or whatever. And even when I moved to LA, the scene I started was not really fully inspired by that. I will actually give full credit to Hood Politics, because I feel like that's when I really felt like, oh, like I can really. It reminded me of the early trap days. I remember, like I enjoyed. I wanted to kind of
shout out DJ Susan.
Shout out DJ Susan. Freak
We
on
love
Dr.
DJ
Fresh. Dr. Fresh put kind of Freak and I under his wing.
Yeah,
Freak introduced me to Susan. Freak Has been my great friend since Portland, and we kind of reconnected closely in Los Angeles. But that's when I kind of I separated from all of my old like Portland friends and activities and whatever bookings I was getting, and just started going out and doing stuff,
building the community.
And I was, I would, like you were saying, we were doing the whole board with all the genres, and I was building the live sets.
Yeah,
and then I was
list.
like, I remember I came back to Portland, and you and I made the whole album. What was it called? Dark Matter.
Yeah.
It was going to be
It was like driving slow tempo.
Driving mid-tempo.
Yeah,
bass,
mid-tempo.
Mid-tempo, like zero res, like this kind of style was like,
It still hits.
And I was building the visuals. I was making everything. And I was ready.
I was listening to that. I was like, "Oh, this is the next level! Like this was it, dude." It was so good with the freaking
It was produced well too, because I had all
yeah.
of the time in the world to produce. So like, I didn't have a club to run. I didn't have like everything touring. I didn't have everything we're doing right now. I was just sitting in the house 24/7, mixing, producing. So they're all squeaky clean. But so I remember we had it already. We were about to maybe launch something, and I go to Portland, and I'm working on a laser harp, and these Johnny, I don't know, String Cheese Incident, and they have like a band that's like a DJ part of it or whatever, and they do DJ sets. Mm-hmm. And so they came to look at the laser harp and were very impressed and invited us to their show. I don't remember, it was in one of those Wookiee kind of Portland venues. Mm-hmm. And we show up, and I just see like just all the Wooks, and I love the Wooks to death. But like I just remember like the days early trap when like it was like every people kind of dressed up, they're vibing, the girls are dancing, you know what I mean? People are like bottle service. I was like, you know what? I kind of like this more, you know what I mean? Rather than just like, I do like heady stuff, but like, it was just like a bunch of sweaty like people on mushrooms, like looking at you like this and like asking you weird questions.
We've
like,
all been there.
Like I've been there, I've done that, and I've enjoyed it. But like, I was like, maybe that was the time. Like I was 27. I was like. And that was the reason why I kind of stopped doing Deafmind, I remember, because I remember like from that whole kind of early trap, like young 20-year-old kind of hype crowd, it went to like just Wooks in pajaminas. Yeah. And I was like, I would get off the stage and I would, was vibing with all of them, but I was like, man, this is really not my crowd. And it was like almost I remember like, I felt like I was making generic music, and people were starting to tell me like, but I was making more like, I was inspired by like the Diplo and the Chainsmokers and like all of these kind of mainstream EDM DJs. So I was just, I was producing, I was writing like melodic stuff. I think it was like, I would say it's shit right now, but I think, it wasn't horrible music. Like
no, it was really well produced. Like as a manager, like listening to all of your music, it's always been well produced.
But people definitely like, and so like just like that time when I made trap, like because everybody was saying make trap, and I was like, whatever, and it popped off. I remember doing the Wook record, and I remember it was like when they started doing the boom. Boom, boom, boom,
yeah,
and I was like
UFO. There's this UFO
well, I was originally just my solo record, so I made that, and I come to the club for like sound check, and I'm playing the track, and one of the DJs that's like fan and resident and all of that, he's like, man, and I like remember making it and just being like using the form, like whatever, like I heard the formula for that song is, I was like, okay, because I see it like, I go out, you know what I mean? It's like as a musician and a DJ, like I can see formulaic stuff, and it's just painful to hear it because it's like you already know everything that's going to happen, so it's not exciting. And so I was like, okay, this is what you guys like now? Okay.
This is what you get.
Boom, 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 boom. Like, so I make that song, I bring it to the club, I'm playing. He's like, man, this is the most original song I've heard you make in a while. I was like, I'm quitting Deafmind. Like,
this is over for
this
me.
Is over. I was like,
I'm over this.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not lying to myself. This is not original. This is just, I'm feeding into what you guys want to make, and like, this is not me. Like, I could bite on it like right now and tap into this new bass wave and keep trying to, you know, and I was like, just, I don't want to. So then that whole discovery that I was doing in Portland, I was like, you know, it was different kinds of bass. Even the house I started making first was different. But yeah, I feel like, what am I talking about?
Well, we've talked about the history of Binge Watch. I mean, we went into, I think, the refinement of your taste and sound. That was kind of what I was leaning on, was like your ability to hear and go. You've gone through so many genres now, right? So like you've seen the cycle go across, you know, the board a few times, and now, you know, going back to like minimal techno to now you're back in minimal tech.
Also, yeah, just seeing, yeah, I mean,
and like building a live set, building this whole like huge sphere that was what you were into when you were like young in Russia.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if like where's the halfway, because I'm right now kind of like halfway through, and I'm like, do I take it? Because I went after going to a John Summit show and like seeing all the freaking lights and all the
shouts out John Summit.
I was like, because you know I'm the laser harp technician. God damn it! So
shouts out Johnny Dwork.
Yeah, shout out Johnny Dwork. Yeah, many people don't know, but I also am like a programmer and sound designer and a composer.
A madman behind the
for like an interactive art project that's been featured in many museums,
some festivals,
Burning Man.
We'll be bringing out soon again.
Yeah, it's coming back eventually. So, you know, the ability of control, connect the sound with lights and via MIDI on time.
Visuals
is my,
it was insane.
So, but my routing. Like, I haven't been using that skill because I kind of was the binge watch. I was using, like you said, with DeafMind, I had it all. I had the visuals kind of running in the background. But I didn't have it fully succinct with the CDJs because, you know, they're just kind of running on automation. And I feel like now, you know, after that big show that I saw, like, I was like, you know what, I can do a really good job doing setting all of this up because I know how DMX works. I have all of my, you know, and with the live sets, I have all the MIDI stems and everything. So, you know, and obviously you and I need to set a date to after that recording is good from, you know, that we did
have a
in the
couple
studio.
already,
yeah, but I think
we're gonna do another one here.
Getting the newest one right now in the studio and then another one on the rooftop. But just for the test for the audio, but I don't know, like the question is, do I roll it out publicly with visuals or roll it out publicly at the afters without the visuals?
Yeah, that's a big question, I think.
And lights.
Yeah, like how deep do you want to go? My whole thing as a manager is like simple first and then add more. So I think that's kind of like set it up, get it going, get it running, see how it works, add this piece, add this piece, add this next piece.
But it's like, you know, the amount of promotion and stuff will go in, like work to promote the live set, you know, and then we just, you know, might as well go all in.
Might as well.
Exactly. So like, why would I promote a live set if I'm only gonna like just be at the same, like, you know, at the afters with the, you know, which I want to. So maybe that's a later thing. Maybe I build out big and then simplify. Yeah. Rather than simplify and try and build out big.
Yeah, you can go in two different directions with it. I think it's going to be a cool experimentation process, getting refining everything, because you've been working on this for like years now.
Yeah,
it's been like years, and like I know we're running over time.
No, we're till 1:15.
Okay. 15. But yeah, you've been doing the live set for years now, and it's just, for me, the history of Binge Watch to go from like something that you were building and doing, and then coming out of it and like doing this whole USB DJ life, and then redefining yourself again and redefining yourself again. And then now redefining again, right? So it's that whole growth is, to me, like the most interesting history of Binge World, because it's like, we haven't even talked about Blind Tiger. Like we even, like, that's just Binge Watch, right? And Blind Tiger is Binge Watch. Like when you look at Blind Tiger, it's like the blood is Binge Watch, you know? And Janessa and like you guys curating that whole, that's the sound, the look, the, you know, everything that's happening. You know, I'm the organizer, just so everyone knows, like I do a lot of organizational stuff and making sure, like, management stuff, and they are like the curators of the whole shebang for Blind Tiger. And
I mean, we're all as a team. I mean, I think we're finally growing.
It's growing to a point
we're
where
growing
it's-
a bigger, smaller team, which is what I like. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
to
perfect.
Blind Tiger, since we do have 15 minutes just to touch base on it, yeah, that's been kind of it's been a
like
I'm
after
really
Binge
grateful.
Watch, after Binge Watch happened, like COVID happened, we were doing some live streaming stuff. That was when you were with Dr. Fresh, and then you went into
Blind Tiger even had to redefine itself. Blind Tiger was
Right.
not. It was
We
just like
redid that.
Deafmind. You know what I mean? It was started with a one purpose, and then
built into something else.
repurposed into a different thing, and then now it's taken a whole other shape. The slower, the farther we go, and I feel like now, with with going into 25, with really making sure people understand that Blind Tiger is not a nightclub. Blind Tiger is not a series of events.
Right.
Blind Tiger is an artist collective that curates multiple different events, that performs at multiple different places and cities. And
We are not an event company.
Yeah.
People. That's a big misconception of Blind Tigers. People think we do events, and it's like, no, we're a group of artists that work together to bring music to
perform,
the world.
yeah, just
You
to
know,
perform.
like-
Anybody, pretty. I think 95% of people that work for us are DJs or
Literally,
artists.
They're artists.
In some
They're
capacity.
producing music. They're DJing. They're graphic designing. A lot of these, and that's
Just
what's cool about
trying
it.
to keep money in the family. That's how it is. I mean, back again to Laser Harp, thanks to Johnny, where I was able to. I've had a couple odd gigs in my life that were outside of music, like for a few days doing construction help here and there, like not even on official construction side.
Right. Just doing
doing. I think that's
odd jobs.
maybe that's just odd, like a couple odd gigs, but I've never had to get a real job thanks to being able to do other things within music. And when your brain is working on music, like look at Jorge, who's been came to the club working.
Shouts out Coke.
Shout out Koki. I worked on At the Door, and wasn't a DJ, wasn't a club goer, didn't know about house music. Slowly is now performing and doing everything, and which is crazy. And at the same time, how many Nico does the payouts on Monday. The amount of people. I mean,
It's building. It's like we're having to build the team around what we're doing.
Yeah,
more
to
and more.
think that we're paying like this much money every Monday just to DJs that are use it to kind of reinvest back into our local musical economy is amazing. And I feel
Back
like
to the community,
back when I was in Russia, like if I was telling myself numbers like that, I'd be like, what the hell? I didn't the American dollars are so much bigger here, so I'm like, for me it's like such a success that we can operate and support multiple people full time and a lot of people's dreams by not being not having to, or even just
giving people a space. That's been like the biggest thing for, I think, a lot of artists, including myself, is like a place to play. Like I coming to LA, like I didn't, you brought me here. I get to play at Blind Tiger. Like that's crazy to me. Like, and that's what artists say is like, you gave me my first shot. Like that's.
I mean,
I don't get no one's giving shots like we are. Like we're like, yo, submit a mix. If you're good, you're in. Like we're gonna give you a shot. Like that's how we work.
It shows. I feel like a lot of
it's a high bar to pass, but like if you'll get feedback. Like we always try and tell people what's up and like where the genre is and if whatever, but that just having an ability to take a shot and be in front of people.
Multiple festivals every year, I see people on the lineup that were I was the first person to book them.
Oh, that's the best feeling
That's
too.
crazy. And they were just on the sidelines. Some people didn't even think they wanted to DJ, and I kind of just pushed them towards it. And
Right.
It's been great. You know what I mean? I'm glad the community is growing, and I really think we eventually will be able to kind of redirect narrative with everything that we're talking about, with the expansion of Blind Tiger and having our own blog and community-driven forum pages.
Yep.
And educational events. And I think
The whole, it's like
just
a big
the whole
community-based
industry
system.
is kind of crooked right now. in my opinion, I'm, not to point at anybody or say anybody.
Yeah, what do you mean by crooked, I guess? Define that a little bit more so people understand.
I just feel like it's the
It's a little uneven, maybe. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, crooked, I would describe as that I feel like money doesn't go to the artist directly. It goes to a lot of middlemen that handle stuff for artists. And what is happening is that the culture of music industry is driving because the big artists get all of the support from certain middlemen. It's basically the narrative is that you can't have success unless you have approval or support of these middlemen. And art is very objective. So like, you could, if you look at Basquiat's art or Picasso's late art, some of them look like, baby drawings or like weird stuff, but it is art. And like, some people don't understand it, some people understand it. And so, when you end up tying your self-esteem and your artistry, which you can monetize yourself by simply figuring out simple ways to monetize your shows,
there's a lot of different ways,
whatever little things. And people don't do it because they're waiting out. And I'm not saying that it's not good to be put on a big playlist or be able to be on a good agency that puts you on the big shows. These things are great. There's great management companies, but I feel like, the perception that the people that don't have that are not as cool or are not as successful is wrong, because being on the back
back
of the industry,
right.
Like
what is
I know
success?
so many people that have all the playlistings and all the agents and all the managers and all of and the big festivals, but certain conditions and where it is, then you count in all of the expenses and travel.
You're still
you're
like
struggling,
nothing,
and your self-esteem is wrapped up in the game that's you didn't create yourself, which is like can be frustrating. And so I really think teaching people how to make music and monetize it on a small scale and make it cool and grow it is what I think that's what's cool. I don't think sitting out and acting cool and trying to impress other people that is that's what music industry is about. It's about having the followers on Instagram, people buying the followers, people paying for the playlistings.
What's hot right now,
like just trying and getting the perception of being is more of value than actually having, like, when the perception and the substance matches, is great, you know what I mean? Like I love to see when somebody's killing it on socials, they're being listened on Spotify, they're on tour, they're collecting big bags, they're paying their whole team, they can hire a stylist, an extra assistant, an extra tour manager, and still make money. I'm like super happy about it. But when 90% of artists are like think that they need to do that in order to be successful, but they can't keep up, so their numbers are not matching up, and they're like trying to keep up this perception, and they're not doing, they're not taking shows locally because they don't want to be considered local, right? Which is technically is most people's best market to sell.
I think local is,
but that's kind of I feel
one
like
of the best places to be.
It's not the music industry itself is not crooked, because music industry is industry and it's music business and business is business, and it's all gonna be. But I feel like the values that are, and I don't think there's like a certain person or a group of people that's like kind of how the music Illuminati are sitting or projecting some kind of like. But I think in general, like, how TikTok or algorithm or whatever that's creating.
What's guiding the thing
value, the guy, like, it's not, people are not in it for that kind of value anymore. Or they are in it for that kind of value and they forget about like, having having your rent paid and being able to like
just being able to survive and like, you know, go places and enjoy your life at a normal level.
Or like, travel at my own time when I want to.
Visit family.
You know, create my own tour schedule, take the gigs that I want to take versus, you know,
building something like sustainable.
Might take longer. And I'm not saying that one or other way is worse, but I feel like with Blind Tiger, that's what I'm trying to accomplish, and our team, and just kind of us working together and building and growing internally, you know. And just from what we've done so far in the past 4 years, it already shows that we can be self-sufficient outside of any, you know, large corporations or anything. And that's kind of what I want, where, you know, for me, it's about the music.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with Blind Tigers. It's about the music. Okay. It's always about the music.
Welcome to Binge World. I think
that was the history.
I think we're wrapping up. History of Binge World.
Yeah,
shortcut.
Wow. Where'd we go? Everywhere, huh?
I think we tried to cover all bases.
Yeah. On all the...
coming up, big shows, Sound Nightclub for my birthday, December 15. Tap in, 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Got all the fattest lineup: Sabrasura Boys, Skonka, Janessa, Koke, Shroomy, Nico, Cowbuns is gonna be stacked. Then we got the Hangar, secret location, close to the Dodger Stadium. Tap in, December 28th. I'm doing back-to-back with Janessa. We got back-to-back stacked all night long. You don't wanna miss this. Then New Year's, Costa Rica. We got Miami Music Week coming up. Keep up with
2025
the keep up with the Binge Watch ends, if you know what I'm saying.
100%. Ready for 2025.
Yeah,
I love you too, man. Thank you.
Thank you.